Good morning. I'm Instructor Woods. I'm here for the art session today. I'm representing Cypress Point Elementary, Principal Mary DeWitt. And what we're going to do today is a landscape. What I like to do first of all is explain to you the different parts of the landscape. It's basically divided into three sections. Here I have a sample here. Now, the three parts of the landscape will be the foreground, the distant ground, and the midground. Now, the foreground is going to be the area of the painting where you'll have the stuff that's immediately in front of you, which will be the largest. As it progresses in the distance, uh, you'll have the midground that's going to represent in the middle, basically in the middle of the part of the paper here. And you're going to have the distant ground, which is going to be the farthest away from you. Now, one of the basic features of the distant ground is the horizon line. That's the line that's represented here, right across here in the distance. And that horizon line is formed, it's like an imaginary line where it appears that the sky and the ground or the surface tends to meet in the distance. So, again, you got the foreground, the midground, and the distant ground. So, what we're going to do, where we have a stump here, we're going to take the same theory, the same concept of the stump being close to you here, and we're going to show you how the stump is formed after older tree has rotted out and broken over. So we're going to start by placing the stump in the foreground here. And that stump is going to be here and here. Now, what it's going to do also is show you, like in the water, where you have reflections and you have cast shadows based on your light source. So the stump is there, and we're going to just use this motion here to show what the stump is broken off, and we're going to place the other part of the tree down in the water and show how it's broken off. Now, we're going to use this also to show you the inside of this hollowed out stump. We're going to just darken that in. And the same thing on your broken off part there. Now, for practical purposes, our light source is coming from the left side. So on this broken off stump, this will be the lighter side, and this will be the darkest side on the right here. Now, this is in the water, so it's going to cause a reflection to be which comes directly under the stump. So this reflection is going to come down, and I'm going to give you a little wavy line because it's in the water. Okay. Now, it's also going to have a reflection of the upper part of the branch that's going to come in the water also. And now the light source is going to hit the top of here and the left side here. So what we're going to do is show some texture coming in from the right side. And as I go to the left of this stump, it's going to get lighter and lighter because, again, the light is coming from your left side, and showing the darker side of the stump here. Same thing with your branch that's overhead here. It's going to be darkest on the bottom half of the stump. And as that come up to the top, it gets lighter and lighter. So I'm putting less of the bark texture of the tree. Now that establishes what's immediately in front of us in the foreground. Now we're gonna have, I'm gonna put an embankment gestures here, which is gonna be indicated by grass that's gonna come right here in front. And it's gonna appear also on the side here. What I'm gonna place also in the foreground, I'm gonna place some lily pads here just to give you some gesture of what's happening. Okay, now that will basically establish our foreground. Just for some more indicators, I'm going to put, well, I call them cattails. I don't know if that's the official name for it, but with that, I'm going to just put this line here. And it's going to have a little indication in the water. I'm going to put another one here and just kind of turn it over. It's going to have a little indication in the water. And these will be, I'm going to put a couple over here. These will be a little closer, so they're going to be larger and taller. Okay, that established our foreground. What I'm going to do now is make indication of the midground, whereas the same tree that's broken over here, if it was standing erect, it would go off the top of the page here. So as I go back in the midground, I'm gonna put a tree here, and this tree you'll be able to see more of the whole tree. So I'm going to start. What we know about trees are that they are large at the bottom. They get smaller as they go further up. So we're going to take the base of the tree and go right up and do the same thing and get smaller as we go up. Now I like to try to bring a branch out here and continue to go on up. Now, this tree, which is in the midground, will also create a reflection directly. Reflections come directly under the object. So with that, we're gonna come and make the little jagged line that's gonna show that that tree is also making a reflection in the water. Right on the side of these cypress trees, you have a lot of cypress stumps that are smaller trees like they're beginning to grow up right around there. So we're just gonna put those indicators there. And they will have a reflection coming directly inverted. Okay, for the midground, I'm gonna place one on the left side here to show that it's a little bit farther in the distance. And so that will make it smaller. And it's gonna have a reflection underneath. Okay, now this tree and this tree will represent the midground. Now we're gonna go in the very far distance and create some trees here in the background that's gonna show depth perception where it goes farther and farther back. So we're gonna start and create that by creating the horizon line. Again, the horizon line is just an imaginary line. It's not there, but it's an imaginary line that appears where the sky and the surface, in this case, the water, tends to meet. So we're going to make a straight line right across the top there. This represents the edge of the water as far as you can see backwards. Now we're going to create some trees here, and as those trees go farther in the distance, they get smaller and smaller. Same thing on this side. They get smaller and smaller as they go farther and farther back. They will also create a direct reflection directly underneath it. So you're going to have the same foliage being created, and it's going to come upside down in the water and make the same line gestures as the trees that are above. So this will become the reflection here. Same thing here. It comes and it appears directly upside down. Okay. Now that is actually the completion of the whole drawing. Now what we're going to do is just start to apply some color in here. Now also these trees, just like here, the light source is coming from the left side, so the darker side is going to be the right side of this tree. So I'm going to just start to place some little bark indicators, and as I come to the left, it's less and less. You'll have the same effect in the water. Of course, it'll be jagged because it's in the water, and the water is always moving. So you're going to have the jagged edges here. And in the water, I always like to make my gestures in the water left to right because the water is making that type of movement. Okay, so what we'll do now is try to apply some color. What I'm going to do first of all is show my sunlight coming in from the top and the left. So we're going to put highlights of yellow at the top of the trees in the distance. And in the water also. We're going to take the same yellow and apply it on our lily pads here. And we are going to also place shades of this yellow on the grass that's on the embankment here in the foreground. Okay. Now next we are going to put some coloring on the cattails here, and we're going to leave the left side of this cattail totally white, so it'll have to indicate that the light source is again coming from the left, and they'll be darkest on the right side here. On my trees, I'm going to place some shades of gray on my I'm going to also place this in the water. On my stump, also in the water. Also on my reflection. Okay. Now what we'll do from this point is add some coloring to the lily pads, the grass in the immediate foreground. And I like to use an upward motion here because that's the direction that the grass is growing. It's going to occur on my lily pad also. And again, on my foreground here on the right side. Now, we're going to go back in the distant ground and put some texture or color on the trees that are in the far distance. Again, I like to use it in an up and down gesture on the coloring here on the trees. And a side to side gesture in the water where the reflection occurs. I'm going to use a couple other colors in this distant ground to show that there's just some different color trees out. And they'll also occur in the water also. Now, what we have left is the water surface and the sky. Now, what we'll do here to show distance, we're going to just put a light color in the sky here, as opposed to what we normally do, just paint it all blue. Now, you have different aspects of the sky. You got the sky, which appears blue, and then the clouds that are right underneath the sky. So we're gonna make uh, show distance by using a light shade for the very far distance. Just gonna lightly shade this with a, this is like a light orange. And that reflection is gonna also be in the water. The darkest part of the sky is gonna be blue, and it'll be blue, and the darkest part will be directly over your head. So as it comes further back toward you, it gets darkest blue and gets lighter as it goes in the distance. So what we're gonna do is bring this dark blue into your sky, and we're gonna omit the part where we want the cloud structure to show. So as I come down here, I'm omitting the part that I want to be exposed as clouds, and lightly putting that blue shade in there. Again, I'm forming the clouds at the same time as I'm making the blue section of the sky, just by omitting the pillowy top of the cloud structure and just carving it out. Now, this cloud structure is going to also occur in the water. So we're going to make the directly underneath and start to make the same gesture cloud in the water. And as I paint the reflection, as I go over this reflection with the same sky color, because it's in the water, and so it shows that even though you have a reflection, it's in the water. You're showing that same blue sky. Now, as I get closer to me, I'm able to show that this the water has a light ripple in it. So I'm going to make different dark gestures in this water here to show that you have movement on the water. Now, my lily pads is going to is sitting on top of the water, so you're going to have a little shadow that's going to occur right under those. So you get a little darker texture there. Again, I'm going straight over this reflection in the water, and it gives it that wet look because it's occurring in the water also. Important thing to note at this point, as I place the patterns, the darker little patterns in the water that you're able to see as they're close to you, those same patterns occur all the way back because the wind is moving the water. But because it's in a far distance, you won't be able to see the actual movement as you will be able to see it in the foreground. So you'll still have those same gestures, but as it gets further and further away from you, it'll be less and less vivid. Now that actually completes the landscape. You have the foreground, which is easier, more visible. You have the distant ground, trees that are coming in the horizon area, and you have the midground. Everything is being represented. From this point, what you do is a matter of just adding things for simplicities. I always like to place birds flying in the sky. That's always good. And a little more little decoration on the tree, just little small things just to give you depth. And as always, at the completion, we always try to sign and date. And that completes it. Thank you very much for your attention. That's it.